So I've yet to do a video that's incorporated fitness, food, and fun, and that's gonna continue with this one. It was a lot of fitness and a lot of food, but not a lot of fun, as you can probably tell by the title. So what we did was a mini cut, which basically is, by fake definition, a shortened period spent in an extreme calorie deficit with focus on losing as much fat as possible. Now there's lots of times for you to do a mini cut. I wouldn't recommend staying in this extreme of a deficit for very long. I think I did it for 2 weeks, 15 days, and that was pretty much as long as you possibly want to go with that. So if it's such a bad idea, why would you do a mini cut? Now for me, this is normally something I would put in place right after Christmas time, after I've indulged a lot, spent a month just basically not tracking or caring about anything when it comes to fitness or calories, and I've put on a little bit of extra weight that I want to get rid of. There's lots of other times you can do it. You can do it ahead of a vacation. Like I said, coming off Christmas or a big holiday is a good time to do it. In the middle of a bulk is also a good time to do it. That can help prolong your bulk a little bit longer without having you put on too much fat if you put a mini cut right in the middle. Or of course, if a pandemic hits and your gym closes down for 3 months and you want to get back at it, and that's why I did it this time. Now I decided to do one this time because this is when the gyms finally reopened where I live after being closed from December the 12th, I believe, until March the 3rd. So I spent the first week of March just doing full body workouts, getting back in the routine of working out, and then I decided to start the mini cut and actually start tracking again on March the 9th. So like I said, normally it's kind of a January 1st or 2nd to first couple weeks of January kind of thing, but this time it was March 9th we started, and the final weigh-in will be on March the 25th, which is the 15th day following that extreme calorie deficit. So I'll show you what we were kind of working with as far as the starting physique goes. As you can kind of see by these clips here, this person has really no business having a fitness YouTube channel. It's maybe not the worst physique you can have, but like I said, I had just spent pretty much 2.5 months not tracking, doing very light home workouts. Gyms had been closed since the middle of December, so it was a very non-fitnessy period, and kind of the goal of the mini cut was to not only lose as much fat as possible, but just to get back in the habit of tracking, doing workouts, going to the gym when they finally reopen them. As much as possible, as many times as I could remember, try to take videos of weigh-ins. This was day 1. This was the starting weight. You can kind of see it doesn't look high, especially when you look at that body fat percentage number. That's not high by any means, but I also wouldn't put too much stock in that. The goal, like I said, was to just get it as low as possible over the course of 2 weeks and get back in the habit of tracking. So we started at a weight of 149 pounds even at 13.4% body fat. All right, so in order to maintain strict a calorie deficit as I was in, I pretty much had to do fairly intense and focused tracking as far as calories and macros for the whole 2 weeks. I only took, I think, 1 day off of not tracking in that 15-day period. And my macros were, even though it's going to be different for everybody, this is kind of what I was dealing with numbers-wise. So normally for me, maintenance is between 24 and 2,500 calories. If you're just doing a regular cut, I would recommend taking about 150 to 200 calories off of that to keep some sustainable progress over a long period of time. Obviously, mini cut means a more extreme deficit. I took off about 600 calories from that, and my macros ended up being, for this 2 weeks, 175 grams of protein, which is about 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight, 190 grams of carbs, and 50 grams of fat. That got me right around 1,900 calories. I think 1,910 is the total, and that's the number that I stuck to for, like I said, the course of 2 weeks. Now, since this is a far more extreme deficit than I would be used to eating in, I had to structure my day a little differently in terms of when to eat these foods and which foods I allowed myself to eat. So I basically would have a high protein breakfast in the morning, usually lots of eggs, egg whites, and turkey bacon, or a smoothie, which if you've seen my other videos, you know a smoothie is pretty much a part of my everyday routine. I would go to work in the afternoon and take basically just a bunch of snacks, things that were low calorie and easy to snack on: celery sticks, cucumbers, lots of fruit, lots of micronutrient dense foods, protein bars, and then maybe a shake as well. Supper would normally be something like chicken, rice, and broccoli, something very bro-based and efficient and easy. Throw the odd sandwich in there as well. And then in the evening, I would kind of allow myself to splurge a little bit, because when you're in an extreme deficit, you're kind of hungry all day anyway, and it is really hard not to overeat. So I decided I was going to allow myself one treat food, so to speak. Not a cheat meal by any means, because I was sticking to these calories still, but one treat food that I could kind of look forward to at the end of the day, something sweet that I could still use to hit my calories with, and I opted for, yes, French Toast Crunch. I'm not a huge cereal guy in the first place, but if I do get cereal, I like to get something good, and this was, like I said, something to look forward to at the end of every day when I was starving, and I would have it kind of right before bed, so I wasn't going to bed super, super hungry. As far as training goes, I mentioned the gyms had just reopened in conjunction with me starting this mini cut. So I did a few full body workouts just to kind of get moving again. And then after that, I followed a push-pull leg split with 1 day off every 4 days for the course of these 15 days. So I believe I did 3 workouts of each push, pull, and legs. As far as training goes, it doesn't change a ton as far as what your weight or body composition goals are. My goals weren't strength-based right now, so I basically just tried to keep the weights up as much as possible. Wasn't looking to make any strength gains. Also wasn't really looking to lose any strength either, and in such a short period of time, you're not really going to make any gains or lose much anyway, so I kept it at around the same for the course of those 2 weeks. As far as cardio goes, like I said, the gyms did reopen, but with a bit of a caveat that you weren't allowed to do intense cardio. It was only low intensity cardio allowed. I don't make the rules. But so I was able to walk on the treadmill for about 10 minutes per each of my workout sessions, which is good. But when you're trying to stay in as extreme a deficit as possible, it's not ideal. Luckily, doing this in March instead of January like I normally would, it did coincide with the weather warming up quite a bit. Even here in Canada, it was nice. So I did a few things like dusted off my bike, went for lots of bike rides around town. Simple things like just going for walks around the block. And then I was also able to start playing a little more sport-based activity to burn some extra calories. I started going to the golf course a little bit more. Like I said, in March, it's still a little bit chilly, but I was able to do that. And also, there's a basketball court just down the street from my house. So, as you can see, did my best to shoot hoops. I think I did this 2 or 3 times each week, kind of at the end of the night, just to get a little bit more activity, stay a little bit more mobile, and also put off eating a little bit more. The more activity you do, the more calories you burn, but it also, of course, gives you an excuse not to be at home eating. Alright, so like I said, I did my best to weigh in as much as possible. I didn't hit every day. If you read the blog post attached to this, you will see everyday weigh-ins. I tried to weigh in every other day, and normally I wouldn't expect such a linear dive in weight and body fat percentage, but this was pretty good. Like, over the course of a regular cut, you kind of see the graph go up and down a little bit, but trend downwards. This was almost pretty linear. I think there was only 1 or 2 days where my body weight went up from one weigh-in to the next, and it was very slight. You can see here, March 17th, that was St. Patrick's Day. My next weigh-in was March the 20th. I was up 0.6 pounds, which in the grand scheme is absolutely nothing. And also factored into that, March 17th is St. Patrick's Day, and I did cheat a little bit that day. That was the one day I said I didn't stick to my calories completely, had a few beers, went out for dinner with some friends. So the final weigh-in after these 15 days was 142.4 pounds and 11.4% body fat. Like I said earlier, wouldn't put too much stock into that body fat percentage. I don't think it's super accurate with my scale, but it is a good number to see in terms of tracking progress that you are heading in the right direction. Although it's pretty much impossible to drop 2 whole body fat percentage points in 2 weeks. So like I said, don't put too much stock into that number. It's kind of just showing that you're going the right way. So here was, I did a little physique update at the very end as well. I'll maybe post a little side-by-side or put a little video of that up, and you can kind of see the difference. Even though it's not a huge difference, I can definitely see a few things leaner, especially in my arms and upper body. That's kind of where I start to lose fat first, is around my neck and chest and shoulders. So that's kind of where I noticed it the most. But like I said, it's only 2 weeks. You can't expect to make a ton of progress in that time. The main goal of this was just to, like I said, get back in the habit of training consistently, tracking macronutrients, counting calories, and being in the habit of just being a more fitnessy guy than I was over Christmas. All right, so in closing, just kind of talking about whether or not I would do this again. Who would I recommend it for? Who would I not recommend it for? I would not recommend it for probably 90% of people. However, I wouldn't have rambled on about it for the course of an entire video, wrote an entire blog about it, and do it every year if I didn't think it had some merit. Of course it does. If you're somebody who struggles with obesity, any sort of diagnosed eating disorder, anything like that, probably best not to have the mini cut as part of your game. Stay in your slight calorie deficit, slow and steady, sustainable progress. That's what's good for everybody. That's the way to go. But, you know, if you're already kind of lean, you have some healthy and consistent training habits, you know what you're doing as far as macros and counting calories, and you have, this is most important, you have the discipline to do this and then not immediately binge eat and put it all back on right after, then it can be a pretty useful tool, which, like I said, for me, it's something I do only once or twice a year, but when I do it, I do see some success from it. Dropped 6.4 pounds in 2 weeks, so hard to complain about that. And like I said, the underlying point is that it really gets you back on track in terms of getting healthy habits, tracking calories again, and just living a good, healthy lifestyle. It also just kind of shows how easy it really is to lose fat if you absolutely need to. Like I said, if you have a wedding coming up, if you're going on a beachy vacation in a few weeks, even though it sucks to stay in that extreme calorie deficit for a couple weeks, it isn't really that difficult when it comes to principle and knowing what to do. And I understand losing a few pounds over the course of a couple weeks and making an entire YouTube video and blog post about it is not really worth it for a lot of people. But like I said, I did it just to kind of get back in the habit of tracking and keeping those habits up. And going forward, I'll probably stay in a much more safe calorie deficit, probably bump it up to about 2,200 calories. Most of that will just be going into carbs, and we'll kind of maintain from there heading into summer. But of course, as I'm filming this, it is the beginning of April, and it looks like gyms are going to be closing again. So come back in 2 months for yet another mini cut video. I did recently set up a little home gym in the garage, so that's probably what we'll get to next in terms of YouTube videos and blog posts. Stay tuned for that. For now, thanks for checking out. Like, comment, subscribe if you want. And if you want to check out the blog post for this video, it's attached. Basically sums up everything I just did. Has all the weigh-ins, has all the macros posted. You can find it at rulestoliftby.com. Peace.